Welcome to Spiritual Truths with your host Kerry-Marie. Today I'm delighted to have with me my niece, Josephine Lorelle. Josephine is a textile designer and she will be sharing with us her life's journey and how she created her passion and following her life purpose. I'm hoping this will inspire you to find and discover and maybe create your own passion. If you like this podcast, please like and remember to subscribe because it helps our channel. And if you'd like to have notification when another podcast is available, please turn on notifications. Blessings and love, Kerry-Marie. Welcome, Josephine. It's so good to see you again. It's been a little while, hasn't it? Yeah, it has been quite a while. So thank you for coming along. I really appreciate it.
That's all right.
Yeah. So today I'm here to talk to you about you discovering and creating your passion. Mm-hmm. So I've known you all your life, your whole life, because I'm your auntie, so you're my niece. Yeah, okay. And I've watched you quite closely and had a lot more to do with you, probably the last 15 years of your life. Yeah, maybe around that time.
Yeah.
And I watched you quite closely and I've seen the changes that you've gone through. I've watched your career. I've watched you go through relationships. I was happy for you when you met your husband. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Martin, you met him. We used to have lovely long walks along the beach. And so I was even a celebrant for your wedding.
Yes.
You got married in Waiheke.
Yes.
Yes, and Andre was your photographer.
Yes.
So I watched you there. And then, but the one thing we had lots of deep and meaningfuls because we tend to get quite deep and meaningful when we talk.
We do, yeah.
And you also helped me with my spiritual career a little bit because you sort of helped me with your profession when it came to my book and all that thing, getting me onto TV and that sort of thing, because you were a publicist, a producer and a publicist in the creative arts for 10 years, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
And so can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, yeah, I started off as a producer working in the performing arts, and then I found my way into being a publicist, which is basically like public relations.
Yeah.
Through that work, because often you end up doing quite a lot as a producer. You do all the marketing, you do the funding, you do the publicity, and I just had a bit of a knack for being a publicist. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I loved coming up with different angles and ideas and promoting artists and talking with the media. So yeah, I did that for a long time, working with some big festivals. So I was over in Edinburgh, worked on the Fringe Festival, worked on the New Zealand Festival, the Auckland Festival. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of hard work.
It was a lot of hard work, but some really, really amazing, unique experiences.
Yeah.
Like I got to publicise Deirdre Tarrant with Footnote Dance in her last year working there, and got to travel to New York and go through all the different theatres, and some really, really amazingly rich and unique experiences and really beautiful people as well.
So it feels that it really spoke to your heart and your soul.
I loved it. It was an awesome community. Yeah.
And did you find as well, like talking about that, because we came from quite a strict Catholic family.
Yeah.
Yes. And in some way it gave us a sense of spirituality, which is, I suppose, quite a good thing, gave us a sense of spirituality and a basis. But did you find also that our family's been quite old school? Did you find that sort of anybody sort of restricted you, or you felt that you weren't able to follow your path?
I think in the end, my family really accepted my path. Like it was a new thing.
But what about in the beginning?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, I did what I wanted. Like I just have that kind of personality that even if there wasn't support there, I was going to do it anyway.
Right.
And I think it did take a while for my family to get their heads around what I was doing.
Right.
But yeah, in the end, they were really supportive and surprised and like, wow, you made this big career out of this and traveled the world. Like, we didn't expect that. And yeah, I guess it's not just the Catholic upbringing. I come from a family where they worked in the trades. So they were builders and they were sparkies and things like that. Whereas I was studying an arts degree and studying feminism and TV and doing all these different things. It was just really been quite different. And I think probably moving away was really helpful.
Yeah.
So I lived in Wellington for many years, and having that separation just helped me to become myself. Yeah. And
I think it's great, actually, because I think I did a podcast about how I sort of opened up to what I need to do, and I feel like it's, to me, what you're saying to me is you're honest and you owned yourself and you did what was right for you and listened to yourself. And I think that's really important, because there's people that probably have possibilities and they're worried about what other people think about them or what their family think or are they accepted. I think, and that's the key to it, isn't it? The key is to being honest and doing what's right for you.
I think I just have the kind of personality where I can't do anything but what I'm passionate about.
That's fantastic, because not everybody but that's great that you had that, because not everybody has that. So
yeah,
I think, because we're talking about spiritual truth, I'm trying to encourage other people to like really be authentic and be honest to themselves.
Yeah, I think
it's a good message, isn't it?
I would just fall asleep otherwise. Like,
right,
I just need to be pursuing something. I have, like, even when I was at uni, when we have essays and things, I would always choose the most challenging. It wasn't about the grades, it was about challenging myself.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that about you. So you like creating, you're obviously creating, and you also, I think you've got this intelligent ability as well, because obviously you've been a publicist. You had to be creative, but you also had to be quite methodical and organised as well. So does that make sense to you? Yeah.
Yeah, so we had to do, you had to have, when you're thinking about a press release and what you read in the media, there was lots of learnings with things like you'd write a press release, you'd research it, and you could have one line in there that you hadn't really thought about, but the press would pick up that.
Yes.
And that would become the story. And so you have to be quite careful in the way that you frame things for the media.
Absolutely, because I'll just pick up that one word or that one-liner.
Yeah, and you hadn't thought about it.
Yes.
And you're representing people and their brand and what, so you do have to be quite careful in the way they're picked up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you also do your research as well, don't you?
There's lots of research involved in that.
Yeah.
So when you're feeding...
delve into things, Yeah,
I do.
Yeah, so that's really fantastic that you do that. So you did that. So what about the producing? Producing and publicist? Is it the same thing, or?
So the producer often ends up doing the publicity, and the word producing is quite a big word because it means different things in different industries. Mm-hmm. But within the performing arts, you're basically the person. I was a creative producer.
Right.
So I work directly with the artistic director. We would come up with concepts together, work together, but then it was a lot of things like sponsorship, partnerships. So I did a big thing called the Performance Arcade and founded that with the artistic director. And basically it was different artists in shipping containers in Wellington and live music. And so I'd help curate that. I would get all the partners, so whether it be Te Papa partnered, whether it would be hotel sponsorship, the shipping container sponsorship, and lots of different funding from Creative New Zealand, as well as looking after artists, getting them funding for their projects. Lots of sorry guys.
It's all right. It's all right. I've got a croaky voice, so I apologise because I've had a flu. So
there's that side of it, and then the other side of producing is also, so you're like a tour manager, so I'd be working with companies to help produce the tour around New Zealand or overseas, or representing them in arts markets, doing all the budgeting, doing the 5-year plans, doing all the strategy. There's a lot to being a producer,
Oh my goodness, must be so organised and so practical, don't you?
Yeah, there's lots of spreadsheets.
Oh,
And
so you got
lots
this.
of personalities.
Oh, this is what I'm going to get to. It's like you obviously did brainstorming with a creative director to come up with concepts and ideas. So that's a creative brain that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, because some people just be quite creative or they can be quite just logical.
Mm-hmm.
But you seem to be able to entwine both of them, which is incredible, really.
Yeah.
It's quite unique.
I guess if you look at my dad and my mum,
Right.
you've got a very logical and a very creative.
Yes, you got the DNA in you.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
that's great, isn't it? So it sounds, when you're talking to it, it sounds fantastic. You obviously sound like Superwoman. It sounds fantastic, but it sounds quite exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier about why I had posted this LinkedIn post
Right.
about my change in career.
Yeah,
And
so you tell us about that.
yeah, so I sort of talked about how I loved my career and the community that I work with. And I started to burn out. I was working 5 jobs.
5 jobs.
Yeah, and that was like making it, essentially, because working independently as a producer and to make money from it is incredibly hard. And probably lots of people don't know that about the arts industry, that it's incredibly hard to make a career in it. But to make it viable, I was a festival director for a dance festival. I was a producer for another festival. I was a publicist for Footnote. I was a producer for Okarika Dance Company, and probably various other things too. And yeah, it became quite unsustainable. And I think the breaking point for me was doing my tax return.
Oh, really? Because you sound like quite determined. Yeah.
I think I was just, I did my tax return, and like my full income, I think, was $32,000.
Oh my goodness.
And I was working for 5 jobs, and I was working, often through the night. And sometimes I would work for an arts company at night, and then I'd go to a day job at Te Papa or other arts organisations as well.
Very taxing. Did a tax report, it was very taxing.
Yeah, it was. So I think that was a tipping point, because I realised at that stage of my life that I wasn't sustaining myself, and I wasn't creating a future where I had security. Mm-hmm. And, an income like that is not going to, build a future for yourself.
Yes.
And it's also, the hours were incredibly difficult.
Yes, you must have had that aha moment. And then also you got married and had children. You got 2 lovely girls.
Yeah.
So was that life-changing for you as well?
I think so, yeah. So I met my husband in Edinburgh.
I was going to say that was meant to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were at the Fringe, and I met him on my last night there.
Wow.
And I said to him, actually, the night that we met, because in Edinburgh there's lots of flirty guys, there's lots of girls around, it's the festival season, and I was just not interested. But I said to him, like, I think once I get married and have kids, I want to have a bit of a change of career.
Right, okay.
And then he leaned in. He didn't back away, he leaned in. And I think that's when I paid him a little bit more attention.
Oh, fantastic. Can you remember the walk along the beach? This is personal, but it's good to share this.
Yeah, I remember.
The walk along
Do you want me to tell the story?
You tell the story. And remember the leaf?
Yes, so my aunt, we met one day for a walk on the beach. I think I was about to go overseas as well. Mm-hmm. And you said to me, I'm getting the name Martin. I was like, oh, Martin, that's my uncle's name. And then you saw a maple leaf. And I think it was years and years, 5 years later, or 2, between 2 and 5, I don't know. But that's when I met my husband, Martin, and he is from Canada.
There we go.
And I had forgotten that you'd said that.
Yes.
And it wasn't like I was looking out for Martin from Canada.
Yeah.
But it just happened.
Especially when you met him in Scotland.
Yeah. So there we go. But he's Canadian.
So he's part of it. So he leaned into you and he said He's okay that you wanted a change in career. That didn't sort of daunt him at all. That's just great.
No, like he was awesome, and in him I kind of definitely met someone who loved me unconditionally.
Yeah.
Like just, it didn't matter. He was
Yeah.
very stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll come back to him because I felt your grandmother coming in earlier, and we'll talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Here's a message for you,
Okay.
but we'll do that at the end.
Okay.
We can wait until the end because it's interesting.
Okay.
She's quite chatty, actually. She keeps on
She
interrupting.
is chatty. She's lovely, yeah.
Oh my goodness, she keeps on. Got quite chatty. So just wait there, Pat. Okay, so you had children, and then I remember you went through this time when you weren't quite sure what you wanted to do. You're looking at your choices. You tell us about your choices, and you're thinking about what your strengths were and who you really were, and you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I used to chat to you a little bit about this. I was trying to work out, after I kind of shifted careers, what I was going to do next. And I did a bunch of things in between. I worked in communication, but it just wasn't quite fitting me. And then I had kids.
Yes.
Had my first child in my late 30s. And then the communication thing and working the arts didn't work even more. I think my last festival was when I was pregnant with Isabel.
Oh, wow, too much.
And it was cool. It was lots of fun to do it. But yeah, it's late nights, it's weekends, and I had a little baby. And I wanted a change. So yeah, but it was really difficult to make that choice.
Yes.
I think it took me 5 years.
Yes.
To actually make the change.
That's a really good thing for people to know, because people watching this podcast, they're thinking, well, I need to discover my passion or my purpose, and I need to create something. But I feel it's really good that you need to be open. It may not happen, it's all a choice, but it might not happen straight away, or something you do may lead you to something else.
Yeah, I think you have to be really compassionate with people that might be a little bit lost or need a change of path.
Yes.
I don't think we have compassion for that. We just
That's
say, get a
interesting.
job, get on with your life, or, this person's a little bit lost and not living in their fullest. But
Yes.
I think it actually takes quite a bit of time if you need to have a change.
Yeah, your passion's so important.
Yeah, it was definitely, and I think I was a yoga teacher, as you know, as well.
Yeah.
And I think that training put me in a space where I could accept where I was and knew that it's only going to happen. Like, I have this kind of philosophy about the head and the heart, right?
Right.
Your head could be telling you to do many things.
Yes.
And your heart could be telling you to do many things.
Yes.
And really, decisions can only happen when your head and your heart meet.
Yeah, that's right, in the middle.
And they sometimes take time.
They do take time, and you progress through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting about your passion. I went through some ill health, and I met up with this guy. This is quite many years ago, and I got hold of this guy who he nearly died of liver cancer, actually, and he cured himself. And one of the things he said to me is, "What is your passion?" And I kept on saying, "Oh, well, my marriage," or I said, "my children," or my friends or family and all that sort of thing. And he said, "But that can't be a passion," because he said, "If they're not there, what are you all about? What's your passion?" And he said, "What do you live for?" And I just suddenly realised that my spirituality was my passion.
Yeah.
And that's what gave me the drive, it gave me the light, it gave me the guiding light in a way.
Yeah.
And it just sort of illuminated within me and burnt within me to create something, quite a force. So I think that passion is really important for health and well-being as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you feel better. You just feel like whole, don't you?
Yeah, it's something, now that I've found it, it feels like I have something that will always be there for me.
Okay,
do you know what I mean? Like,
always, forever. Yes, I know that feeling.
Like, no matter what's happening in my life, it feels more important than anything.
I agree. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be doing my spiritual work till I die.
Yeah.
And you get quite sort of protective over it as well.
It's a really beautiful thing to have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody can find it.
Yes. Yeah.
So, you are now, talk about your work now that you do now.
So I'm a surface pattern designer and a textile
I couldn't read my writing.
That's all right. Surface pattern design is not a well-known term, but I think most people know what a textile designer is. Looking at Kerry's top, that's textile design, and my top is textile design. But surface pattern is also different things. So it could be notebooks, drink bottles, wallpapers, cushions,
Scarves.
Yeah, it's a variety of things. And I didn't know what surface pattern design was. I just had a Pinterest board full of patterns and I love to doodle.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I Googled, like, what's a job making patterns?
Wow.
And discovered the world of surface pattern design.
I'd like to say I think your soul was led to that.
Yeah, I loved it. I'm really glad that I pursued it. And, you know, we chatted. I had multiple choices of which path I wanted to go down.
Yeah.
I was looking, do I want to be a psychologist? Do I want to study psychology? Do I want to be a designer? What do I want to do? And ultimately, I chose design because I wanted something to nourish myself.
How does that nourish you?
I think it's like in many ways, but if you think about, I guess, spirituality, or if you think about meditation and things like that, making patterns is something where my mind stops, where my creativity starts, and I'm immersed.
Wow.
And I think that's a really nice space to be in.
It's because your logical brain's been put to the side and you're opening up to your creative side, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and I spent many years when I first started this career just creating.
Wow.
I didn't sell anything. I didn't really promote myself. I just learnt the craft and allowed myself to explore.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I think, that act of creating without kind of boundaries was really cool.
You know, one thing I noticed about it, and Robert Kiyosaki talks about this in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and one of the things he talks about is sometimes when you try to get approval from like family members or close friends, they will close you down. And the reason they do that is because they want to protect you.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand it. And often people from the outside of your network can encourage you more, which happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you kept quite quiet about that as a family. You never talked about it. You kept quite quiet about it. You must have just gone into yourself and just looked, I don't think you talked about it a lot, did you? I can't remember you discussing it much.
Yeah, it's true. I think
Which is a good thing.
I think I was probably busy with kids and then focusing on that and just enjoying it.
And not getting other people's input about that.
No, I didn't.
Which is a great thing, I think.
I have a really cool community online.
Great. It's, outside your network.
Yeah, so I have a really lovely community that I engage with, and I'm part of different memberships and things, so that's where I get my feedback.
Perfect. Outside your normal, surroundings, because that's something for people to take away from this, is that start doing something, start working on it, see if it speaks to you, enjoy it, and you're committed to it. And I'm not saying that people close to you won't support you, but maybe sometimes you get it from somewhere else.
Yeah, I think my
encouragement, yes.
My original arts career got them used to me doing these kind of things.
Right.
So now they are very supportive, my family.
I'm not saying for you. I'm talking about people listening to this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like Robert Kiyosaki, I'm not talking about you personally. I'm talking about anyone, because sometimes you find that people want to protect you in life, and sometimes they may find something outside themselves that you've got some crazy idea, but someone will come along to support you and encourage you in that. Especially, like, you've obviously got a strong personality, and you're going to do what you want to do, but not everybody has what your personality is. And so what I'm trying to encourage people to do is maybe they need to get encouragement from somewhere outside their close network, and someone from the outside will come along and encourage you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have those things. I have a mentor as well.
Fantastic.
And yeah, I think those kind of people are only going to lift you up and give you different perspectives.
Yes.
And a different kind of encouragement.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe you're more likely to look at criticism or constructive criticism as well.
Yeah.
From someone who's not too close to, or they can just say it in a different way.
And at the end of the day, people
Yeah.
who you choose to be part of your group of feedback are essentially going to have a lot more knowledge
Yes, they are.
in what you're doing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, I think in terms of my closer network, I guess I haven't talked about it much because I don't expect there to be a knowledge.
Well, interesting.
I might talk about, I might share a design, or
Yeah.
I might talk about some successes that I've had,
Good
or
for
some
you.
struggles.
Yeah.
But mostly I just talk with people who are in the same network.
And it's great because you're always learning, aren't you?
Always.
Always learning. And I felt really proud of you, Josephine. I mean,
Oh.
I've watched, I'm really, really proud of you.
Yeah.
And you told me you're going to Paris. So what's happening with that?
Yeah, so I have been invited to go to Paris next year. It's a show called Paris Prince.
Mm-hmm.
And they have 30 artists from around the world that come and present their textiles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's during Paris Fashion Week. So
Wow, how
yeah.
exciting. I wish I could go with you. I love fashion. Love it.
You can be my promoter.
Yeah, I'll be a promoter. I can wear the textiles.
You can do all the readings for the buyers and say, I feel you're going to buy, a dress. But yeah, so I'll be going to Paris next year. I'm just working on funding and things like that at the moment. But yeah, it's very, very exciting I just got a message from them and they said, your work is very chic.
Wow, I love that. Chic. Yeah.
And we think you'd be a great addition to a group of artists that we are showing. And I had never thought ever about going to Paris. I had never thought about going to a textile show. And I think this is probably important for people to think about because I had a choice. I had a choice to get that message and be like, oh no, I'm not worthy, or I can't afford it, or let's not go, or like
limiting beliefs.
Yeah, or I had a choice to go, oh, wow, that's an invitation I never expected. I'm going to make it happen.
I love it.
And like,
I love it.
there is not a single part of me that thinks, oh, my work should be in Paris, but somebody said it should, so let's do it.
That's true. Like taking those opportunities is so important. I'd really encourage people to do that.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense to me because I've had the same thing myself where, I could have shied away from an opportunity and I haven't. And that's the best thing for people because people want to keep, not just their family, but maybe they want to keep themselves safe. And it's like you just got to take that opportunity because I don't know where it's going to lead you.
Yeah, and I think
It's come for a reason, yeah.
And I could go to Paris and I could show my work and I don't have a set goal.
Yeah.
Like I don't have an expectation that I'm going to meet this many buyers or I'm going to do this. For
not
me,
limiting yourself.
It's just I'm going to meet some people in the industry and it's going to be a really unique experience and I don't know what will come out of it and it might just be the fact that I can say I went to Paris. Like
I think
that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think you're very open and creating a beautiful opportunity for yourself. So you've got all my encouragement. Something I was going to ask you about, something you talked about me yesterday, we had a bit of a chat yesterday.
Yeah.
You talked to me that you did digital pattern design.
Yeah.
And now you've changed that to hand painting. I think it's fabulous. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I think when I first started surface pattern design, I didn't have an iPad. I did a lot of hand drawing and then tracing and scanning.
Right.
And then bringing through. So often what you do is you create things called motifs. Right. And they're the little, this is a motif.
Okay.
You've got maybe 5 or 6 on there.
Wow.
And then they come through into a digital program.
Yes.
And you set them out into a pattern.
Yes.
And so I did do hand drawing at first, and then I got an iPad, and then it became very easy to draw digitally.
Yes.
And transfer that through. But I got really bored of working on my iPad. It felt like a chore.
Yes.
So I was like,
that's a really good thing to me. If it feels like a chore, then something's not quite right. You need to trigger it a bit, yes.
I was like, oh, I've got to draw this thing so I can make a pattern. So I still enjoyed making the patterns, but the drawing aspect became more about the end result than the drawing.
Became tedious.
Yeah. So I did recognise that, and because I got picked up by a designer in Malaysia called Kaftanis, and they bought 11 of my designs. And so I started to think more about the fashion industry.
Wow.
And a lot of the fashion industry is hand painted and a lot more organic. And
I never knew that.
Yeah, well, you definitely do get a lot of digital art, but you're going to see that more in textiles, but a lot more in kind of stationery or cushions or, kids' clothing is a lot more digital.
Wow.
But fashion is a lot more hand painted and crafted.
I never knew that. Tell us about that. That's exciting. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I just got a little bit more interested in that idea and started to look at designers that I looked up to who were making really incredible work. And I started first drawing with just pens and things like that, and then tracing over it digitally and still bringing it in. But now I started using inky watercolours.
Wow.
So they're a watercolour, but they're really inky, like an Indian ink, and you can water them down. So mostly now I hand paint. Most days I'll wake up and paint.
Fabulous. Do you love it?
I love it. I love something about using your hands with a brush, and what it creates is very different.
Makes you feel emotional. I feel really happy and emotional and warm. Yeah.
It's just like it's a space where something else can take over, and I'm a good believer in mistakes becoming like your best work.
Yes.
Because experimentation can lead to some really exciting things, and it can lead to some things that you throw in the bin too. And I think hand painting allows for a lot more experimentation and connection. And the end result has got a lot more attention than my digital work.
Yeah.
And I think people connect to that hand-painted work.
Yeah, because it's special and it's unique and it comes from someone.
And it's got mistakes,
And it's got mistakes. Chanel No. 5, because I was in the fragrance industry at one point, that was came about through a mistake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because really particularly when you make perfumes, if you put one drop in too much, it ruins it. You've got to start again. It's like tiny drops and tiny drops. So much goes into creating a perfume. And Chanel No. 5 happened because of a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I would really really encourage people to just play.
Yes.
And make mistakes. And a lot of my creativity
because it opens your mind up, doesn't it? Not restricting yourself.
I've got a great example. So the other day I saw some cool technique where you put flowers and leaves down and then you work with the watercolor ink on the paper.
Yeah.
And it didn't work well, and I was trying to tip the watercolors off, and it got all over my table. So then I used paper to mop up the watercolors because I never want to waste any.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then it made the most beautiful texture.
Wow.
And I added some drops to it. I scanned it, and now it's a design.
Wow.
Because the table texture played with the ink, and it created something really beautiful.
So you've learnt something spontaneous.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be that way. And with this industry, there's lots of really talented artists, and there's lots of people that end up looking the same. Yes. And there's a part of me that I get frustrated because I can't create designs in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to do that, but I also have to let go, love those designs, and go with what flows out of me.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question I want to ask you, say for the listener, is so somebody watching this, and you're obviously doing it for yourself, and you're making it go forward. But for someone who's quite lost, or what is my passion? What makes my heart sing? What's my purpose? What would you suggest to them since you've been through this?
Like patience.
But how would they find it? Patience.
How would they find their passion? I think it's it's really hard to answer for individual journeys,
Yeah.
but I think it's interesting that I started to work with ink because when I was at high school, I
Yeah.
was always attracted to inks.
Yeah. So what you're attracted to is one of the keys.
Yeah.
What you're attracted to, yes.
And so leaning back into what I've always loved.
There we are. There's another key. So what you're, and something you love as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So leaning into what you love, what you're attracted to.
Attracted to, loved. Okay.
And what, it's sort of like accepting what I was talking about before. It's a little bit of acceptance of who you are.
That's a key.
Yeah, so it's like I can't create that even though I'd like to. I create this because this is what comes out.
Yeah, so that's something they could write down, isn't it? What they're attracted to, what they love, and accepting themselves.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I don't know where it's going to lead you. And playing. That's a great one because playing, talking about children, they play and they've got no inhibitions. And so because that self-doubt and that negative self-talk and those people can overthink things, it's not going to help you. Yeah. But if they sit down and say, what am I attracted to? What do I love? Accepting myself and just playing with it.
Just play.
That's really going to help people, I think.
I think maybe just don't have expectations on it because not everything has to be a career. No,
exactly. I think there's a really good book that my friend Karen, that you've had something to do with.
Yeah.
She talked to me about, and is your job. So your job brings in the money.
Yeah.
But your work is what fulfills you and gives you your purpose. So, for instance, their job, they might go into an office during the day, but their work may be like lifeline counselling or something, and that's their passion that fulfills them.
Yeah, there was a children's author, New Zealand author, who used to be a teacher during the day, and then she was a single mum and she'd write books at night. And
wow, see, that's what I mean.
It's sort of, I guess I'm talking about creative careers. But yeah, I think
any career, I think you can always do it part-time and see if you really enjoy it.
Yeah, just playing. And
not being too serious about it.
Yeah, and making mistakes and allowing, I guess from an artistic perspective, you're allowing yourself to be messy, make bad art, just do it really bad until you do it really well. Yeah,
good on you. That's great. I love it because we can sort of we can do something and say, oh no, I'm no good at that. I'm not going to do it again.
And at the end of the day, I'm not the best artist, but there's something about my work that captures people.
Because you come in being honest and authentic and passionate.
Yeah.
So the next question...
You don't have to be the best.
You don't have to... I love that. Apple, Apple iPod wasn't the best, I think MP3 player or something like that. I think it was Apple, the MP3 anyway. They weren't the best, but they were really good at marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember hearing that story.
Yeah. So you don't have to be the best, but
believe in yourself.
There's something about what you create that people can relate to and find your people.
Yeah, not everybody's going to, are they?
Not everyone's going to like what you create.
No, they're not. Not everybody, because we're all different.
Yep, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. So one of the things is really good. Wayne Dye's really good. He talks about that.
Yeah.
He's got a book called Erroneous Zones and Pull Your Own Strings. And one of the things Wayne Dye says is what other people think about you is none of your business.
I love that.
I do too. But also the other thing I love what he said was that, 50% of people won't agree with you. That's what I was trying to get back to earlier. So it doesn't matter what you eat for breakfast. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what car you drive. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what job you do, what clothes you wear, anything you do in life, not even, you'd be lucky if 50% of people approve of you. So if you go around trying to get everybody's approval, you're going to be extremely strung out and quite anxious and quite depressed.
I think it's a really good point.
Yes.
Just in personal life as well.
Yes, it is.
Because I have a daughter who's on the spectrum.
Aww.
And no one will ever know what that journey's like.
Yes.
And I had to sort of give myself some self-talk around people have good intentions and might say things or assume things. And I can't take it personally.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is hard, but if you talk to yourself about it, then you can kind of have that space where you're not judging other people what they say, because we all say things with good intention.
I had that because of my eldest, as you know, Bernard was very ADD, and I had lots of judgment with him. And then I was led to a different path, but it was really difficult, and I've really dealt with myself as a mum.
And I think what it comes down to is like that self-belief.
Yeah.
And finding the people that when you don't believe in yourself are going to lift you up or give you confidence or help you work through it.
Yeah, and I think you can be directed as well. You can be directed, because I was definitely directed in that situation. So I'm really proud of you. I'm really pleased that you've found that. And as you know, this podcast is Spiritual Truths.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for the encouragement you've given me as a medium as well. You've given me a lot of encouragement, so I want to thank you. But I've been asking people, I meet all sorts of people, so what's your spiritual truth? Because I think everybody has a spiritual truth.
Mm-hmm. I think it's self-belief, and I guess it's a sense of like I always love that fable about is it the hare and the...
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
The tortoise?
I was thinking about that. I nearly brought that up. It's interesting.
I've always been the tortoise.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what you were talking about earlier. Like, you haven't mentioned all these things that you've been doing, and you haven't been talking about it. And I guess the tortoise wouldn't talk about it.
Because it's got that shell they go into.
But they would just keep going.
Yes.
And I've always related to that, and I've always been on the longer journey.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and believing that it doesn't have to be instantaneous.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a journey to get there.
And it's a process.
Yeah. Is that a spiritual truth?
It's definitely, but I think the fact that you're always learning and to take your time is definitely, for me, I always feel I'm being directed in a way, and I would say that you're being directed, because even with like creative work, especially when you're painting, I really feel that that you're actually inspired by the spirit world. That's how I see it myself. And you inspired me yesterday with something.
Oh, what was it?
Because you explained to me the difference between design and art, because I'm definitely not an artist. Maybe with my writing I have been, but I've been more of a designer because I had sort of some interest in patterns, and we talked about that. And I used to paint pillowcases and things. I never thought, no, I can't do that because I'm not an artist. But obviously there's something in our family that's for design. And I've lost my train of thought.
That's okay. You were talking about yesterday, we were talking.
Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you. So I did talk about my previous podcast. In my previous podcast, I saw a spirit guide, and she was a Japanese lady in a kimono. And I saw her, and I went to an amazing medium, and she picked up on my guide. And because at that time I started getting interested in psychic art. Mm-hmm. And I learned about autographs, which is more about design. Mm-hmm. And I did one on my father-in-law who's passed, Doug, and he was encouraging with me. He's quite a logical man. I did an autograph for him, and I didn't know what I was drawing. And I said to him, you've had about 20-year gap in your career. It's what I drew. And I said that you chose to go this way, that way. He said, it's 100% right. He said, I never knew this about him. He said, I was a teacher for most of my life. And then 20 years later, I decided to become a psychologist. And I did psychology. So he completely changed his career 20 years later.
Wow.
So yesterday, after talking to you, it made me really excited, because no, I'm an artist, but maybe I can do this design with autographs. So that you really inspired me.
Good. Did you do one?
No, I might do one for Andre. I said I'd do one. Actually, I said to my friend I'd do one for her.
Cool.
Yeah. So tell us about the difference between design and being an artist, because it's quite a difference. I didn't know that. I found that exciting, revealing.
Yeah, we're talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I think I've always been more attracted to the design process, and that aspect of it is what excites me the most.
Yeah.
Trying to think about how to, I guess with a design, you're creating something that but for my case, it's a pattern.
Yes.
But I guess there is a bit more of a logical brain that comes in, because you've got a process, you're thinking about it. And I guess an artist is also doing that too, but in terms of designing a surface pattern, there is some mathematics that comes into it.
Okay.
You have to ensure that everything's going to line up. You might want to do a drop repeat, and there's some mathematics around that.
Right.
So there's a little bit more of a system.
I don't think I'll be doing that in my August.
But yeah, I guess there's more...
I'll just see where my hand takes me.
I think...
I mean more the creative side of it, when you start drawing or painting.
Yeah.
It's more design, isn't it?
Yeah, I think...
I mean more the abstract. It's more abstract. It's not exactly like painting a picture of a scene. I mean more abstract, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I'm having, in this moment, I'm having trouble getting my head around it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just...
That's different.
I might need to think about that answer a little bit, to be honest.
And that's all right. But I was just thinking, because for me, with the creative aspect, if I was drawing something, I might not be thinking about it too much. I might just be drawing something and it turns into something. Does that happen to you at all?
Yeah, all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, I think... I'm very attracted to flowers, and I see flowers around my...
Can't believe that.
Why?
Because someone just said to me, I'm giving you a daffodil.
Oh, and daffodils are my husband's favourite flowers.
Oh my God, someone just from Spirit said, I'm giving you a daffodil.
Oh.
I heard it so strongly.
Yeah.
And then you said, I heard someone say, I'm giving you a daffodil, and then you said flowers, and I think I've got to... So someone's giving you one, but also, my mum loved daffodils. It's her favourite flower.
Oh.
It's her favourite flower.
Yeah. I think with... the question was a little bit... It got me a bit boggled, but...
It's all right.
I think... I guess... Yeah, there is a bit of a difference between being an artist and a designer.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just more of a process thing with design, and there's an end product that can be reproduced. And
yes.
But with florals is what I mainly do.
Yeah, wow.
And that's mostly I walk around my neighbourhood and I get really attracted to different florals, and then I might make 7 or 8 different types of design with one flower.
Maybe you should do one with a daffodil.
I have.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think flowers are cool because when I first started drawing flowers, I couldn't draw them. But now I understand their shapes and movements, and I can do them quite quickly.
Wow.
And I think it's nice to watch flowers in the way that they change with the seasons. And, that I love to even paint them when they've dropped on the floor, and
yes,
when they first bloom, or their buds, or they're opening and closing and changing colours. And one flower is so interesting.
It just tells a story, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's what I'm most attracted to.
Wow.
Is just looking at a single floral and how it changes.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's very spiritual.
That's my personal journey.
That's very spiritual, because I feel that part of our life is like caring and loving ourselves and honouring ourselves and following our souls and our heart, what's right for us. But I feel it's also how we treat other people. And I feel it's also about how we treat animals in the world, and definitely nature and flowers and all that sort of thing. And I feel to embrace that is really important. Mm-hmm. It really nurtures you.
Yeah, I walk around my neighbourhood
and water your flowers and appreciate them. And
yeah, just looking at them. Like, you'll often see me literally with my camera or picking things, and my kids also do it now. They pick lots of flowers, and
it's so strange because I kept on looking at flowers yesterday thinking I must give you a bunch of flowers, and I got distracted. But yes,
it's okay. Yeah, I think
I've been attracted to that.
I would really encourage people to walk around their neighbourhood and just, rather than just walking, look and engage with all those little things around you. And it's a nice kind of mindful practice. But if you look really directly at nature, this is so intricate, and there's so much that will surprise and engage you, and the colours. And there's this one particular garden that's across from my daughter's daycare, and every time I walk past, it's different.
Wow.
And I went one day and I knocked on the door of the house because I wanted to pick some flowers from there and I wanted to ask them if it would be okay. And I learnt it was her mother that had planted this garden.
Wow.
And she'd planted it so that with every season it was ever changing.
Wow.
And so she was really specific in the way that she planted it.
Wow,
And
that's special.
And it's not like you walk past and it's the most impressive garden. I just noticed all these subtle changes all the time.
Don't you think you're spiritually inspired? Was your mum still alive?
Her mum's not alive. No.
Okay, do you think she inspired you? Because to me, for you to go and
Maybe.
knock at someone's door and you told her the story, I'm sure she inspired you. I'm absolutely positive.
Her garden does, yeah.
Yeah, but she works through, because often spirit works through the garden, works through nature.
Yeah.
It makes me excited.
Yeah, so I go across drop off my daughter and I'm always looking to see what's new, and it's amazing the transitions from even day to day.
I even notice it with fruit, like we got fruit trees, the same thing. I always notice it, and it's how nature's talking to us, and it knows, that we're starting to get blossoms because next year you're going to need oranges because you need the vitamin C to help you through winter. I really notice that.
I think slightly changing the subject, what I love about it is that if you end up with something that I've made, an end product, whether it's a scarf or a shirt or a dress or a piece of fabric, I've literally seen that walking around my neighbourhood. I've picked it or I've grown it, and then I've painted it with my hands, and then I've turned it into a design, and then it's become a product. So it does really have a full cycle.
Fantastic. I remember when I was a little girl and I was racing along and my neighbour, I talk about her in my book. I call her Mrs. Scott on my book. It's name close. And she said, stop rushing. Stop. And she said, look at this. And she made me look at the leaves, and she showed me the leaves, and then she showed me the skeleton of a leaf.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, the skeleton of this leaf is amazing, and it's so precious.
Yeah, I mean, nature is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I think we forget.
We do.
And we turn, we've got our phones or we've turned a blind eye, we're in a rush. It doesn't mean that you always have to be looking at nature, but just taking half an hour.
It's a therapy as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's also part of your spiritual truth, I think.
Yeah.
Nature, because in nature, a lot of people say that. So I have got my cards
Okay.
that I created. Now, what happened? Spirit helped me, and they channeled. I used to wake up in the morning and get messages, so I wrote them, and made my friend cry, and I thought, okay, I'm not just making this up. So I'm going to pick a card. Is that okay?
Yeah.
For you. And then, so I've got, I don't know what 42, I've got 42.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if 42 means anything to you, but I got number 42, which is
2 and 4 are my favourite numbers.
There we are. And your 6 life path, which is also 4 and 2.
So I'm born on the 24th. I lived on 24. Yeah, there's lots of 2/4s. Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of my passwords are 2/4s.
Okay. Last of your past what?
Passwords. I have 2s and 4s in
Oh
them.
no, shh about that.
Shh.
Okay.
I have to change them all now.
Yeah, you will. You feel put to the test. Your mind is swimming. It's time to rest. Try not to push yourself too much. Relax and know, I'll keep in touch. Nothing is as it seems. It's been taken care of. Let it be. Good news will come to you. You won't expect it out of the blue.
No, it's all coming.
It's all coming. So, I don't know if that relates to you at all.
It does. Remember we talked yesterday about...
You look at that.
You won't expect it out of the blue. Oh, okay. Nothing as it seems. I mean, I guess if we're talking about spiritual truths, a really, really big one for me is being open.
Right.
But not just letting life happen in a random way, but being open to possibilities. And the more open you are,
Yes.
the bigger the possibilities
I
are.
love that.
Yeah, and
Yeah, beautiful.
if I was closed off, I wouldn't have been invited to Paris.
Yes.
And then when that opportunity came, I could say yes or no.
Yes. Absolutely.
And
You've got free will.
yeah, and I think for listeners,
And you've had a busy life as well.
a very busy life. I've
Yes.
2 young children. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Yes.
And yeah, I do need to relax a bit more, definitely.
Exactly. So when I felt your grandmother Pat coming in,
Yeah.
and the first words that she said to me is she said to me, "You will travel."
Oh, thanks.
Now she said it to me before we started, and I thought, why is she telling me you will travel?
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, I just clicked. She's probably talking about Paris, but I also feel there's going to be more travel than just Paris.
Yeah.
There's going to be more opportunity. She said, you will travel. And then she said, you're a good mother.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
you're a good mother. She said, April's really important for you.
2 birthdays.
Oh, well, there we are.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to say this. It's personal, but she said he is your soulmate. You're with your soulmate.
Aww.
And it's interesting you brought up Martin before. And then before, I just heard the words, just be practical. And then she's also saying to me, money and the purse. So the money and fortune's coming to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, all you do is believe.
Cool.
And she loved church and the faith, and she prays for you. She's got the rosary beads out.
Yeah.
And I don't know about whether they're going to get new flooring or new carpet, but something like that might happen as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or someone's getting new carpet. I don't know why. Or maybe carpet is something you may get into with textile. I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting.
I just heard, because I don't know. She didn't say new carpet. She just said carpet.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
I don't know what she meant. Sometimes my mind comes and I try to interpret it. She said carpet.
Cool.
And she knows what you mean. So she's there a lot. And like I thought, why am I attracted to flowers with Josephine? It was like, I wish I bought some actually. I was going to, and I got distracted. And then I didn't hear the daffodil. So it's confirming that it's your husband's favourite flower. What you're doing about the flowers, they're loving that about you. And yeah, that's what they're loving about you. And just to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And be positive. So I'm going to give you my cards.
I've got some, but
you've got some.
I've got some. I bought some from you at the beginning.
Do you use them?
Yeah, I love them. So,
oh, you did actually. That's right.
yeah,
And they helped you in some way too, didn't they?
yeah. But I could keep this and give them to someone.
Okay. No
Why don't I do that?
You do that.
I'll do them as a gift.
It'll be for the right person, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So it was thank you for sharing your personal journey, and that's I think people love hearing the personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It makes us feel like relatable, and also your business side and your creative side. And thank you so much for coming, Josephine.
Yeah, I would just say I really encourage people to have confidence in themselves, even when they have huge self-doubt. Like when I got my big break with Malaysia, I was about to give up.
Wow.
So just have self-confidence and keep going, and you definitely can meet some things along the way. But also thank you so much for having me and listening.
I just want to finish that last often in I think Positive Gems, and it says the last key often is the one that opens the lock.
Yeah. Sometimes it is
at the
right.
end.
It is right there.
I found that myself.
Yeah.
Oh, you just helped so many people by telling the story. Thank you, my darling. Bye.